Here we have the wooden leg kit. Basically, I'm going to kind of show what we've got involved with the kit and kind of how it goes together. We have our little ankle bracelets here that we include. The center leg, this particular one we have already assembled, but it comes in 3 pieces. And there's some dowel rods that you install to glue it together. We've got all the pieces for our center hub. And then we've got the laser cut horseshoes, and I have aluminum shims that go behind those. These go between the horseshoes and the legs, and they're slightly smaller to kind of give you that slight offset. And I kind of wanted to show a little bit about these layers here and how they go together. We've got a piece here that goes on the outside, and then you've got the inside, the back piece. And the way we do our legs, we have our legs where they'll bolt from the inside. So you've got these layers here that get glued together. So the last piece here, we have these holes drilled out, and we epoxied in our T-nuts on the inside. So when you run the bolts through your hub from the inside of your droid, you can bolt it so to make it nice and stable. And so we epoxy these ahead of time, and I'll show a little clip of us doing that beforehand. But what you'll do is you'll glue these up, stick your pegs in there as you're gluing, so that you end up with the inside here's hollow, so you can run your wires down through the center, and your horseshoes will go on the outside, obviously. And then you've got this last piece here that you'll clamp on. You'll glue all this up. You glue your horseshoes separately, and then those will attach on afterwards. And what you'll end up with is a solid piece like this. You can lightly sand this, and then we use either Bondo or PC11, which is what I used. And I've got a set of legs over here that I've started. This is PC11, and after you do up a couple of layers of it, you sand it nice and flush, and you'll end up with a good flat surface here that you can paint. So I've got mine partially done. I need to go back over it with maybe one more layer, and then kind of touch up in the shoulder details here. But this is what they'll look like once you've got the outer skin sort of put on it, so that you can paint them. And that's our wooden leg set. All right, here we go. Basically got one of our legs all laid out here. What we're going to do is we're going to show how we're gluing this up. Basically, we've got our pegs. We have the larger pegs go toward the bottom of the leg because it has more wood to go through. It goes all the way through all of these pieces here. And for these pieces here, I have 4-inch clamps to use on both sides. We put 2 of the 3-inch clamps in the center here, and all of this will have spacers. I've got some little wood blocks to put both on the top and the bottom, so when you put the wood clamp on it, you're not clamping the actual leg and leaving dents. So use the little wooden blocks. So I cut out enough wooden blocks. I needed 16 wooden blocks for the top and the bottom. We're using 8 clamps, 2 on each side. We got 2, 4, 6, and 8 to get it all clamped up nice and tight. If you use less, you may end up with little gaps and stuff. And the legs that I've done, I've just used 8 to make sure I've got a good tight seal. Now what we're going to do is we got the center holes here use the medium-sized pegs, and the top uses the 2 smaller pegs. Now up here where the horseshoes are going, the pegs will actually go below this surface here, so that there's nothing sticking up above. And when your horseshoes go on there, basically they won't have anything sticking out. And then we'll work on putting some screws in here, so this will go on there and slide into place down the road. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a time lapse here showing how this process works. Alright, what we did was we got our 8 clamps on here, and I had to flip my last 2 because I put them on the wrong direction. And it makes it nicer to have them all pointed in the same direction so you can let it sit and dry. We put plenty of glue on it. There was a lot of glue that squeezed out, which is good, meaning you've got a good solid bond. You will not have any problems with your legs separating down the road. Basically, I went through and I cleaned off all the squeeze out that I could with a credit card, and I was actually, when I was assembling it, I used a credit card to kind of smear it on there, and it went really quick. And then when you're done and everything seems to be all squeezed out, go through and try to clean up as much of the glue squeeze out as you can, especially in these tight cracks and along the edge here. It's easier to do it now than it is to try to sand that stuff off later. And as you saw, I used a little bit of paper towel and some couple of napkins here basically, and I try to keep my table pretty much clean. And I cleaned off my credit card every now and then went back doing some more scraping. So we're going to go ahead and let this sit for about an hour. It should pretty much cure up in about an hour. As far as the glue goes, you can take the clamps off and then just let this sit and let it dry overnight. And then after we get all the clamps off here, we can go ahead and do up the next one. And so within about a 2 to 3 hour period here, you should be able to get both your legs glued up and then let them sit overnight.